Welcome to the $1 Million Career. My co-host Craig Picken, Chief Executive of North Star Group, nationwide leaders in aerospace and aviation. Good morning, Craig. How are you today?
Hey, Rob, good morning. Happy Monday as always. What's the good news today?
Good, man. Hey, today we're going to talk about the NFL again. I know the last time we were talking about San Francisco 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy. We're going to talk about Jalen Hurts, quarterback of Super Bowl team this year, Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen made a great quote. You either win or you learn.
Yep.
In his post-Super Bowl loss press conference. And it was really refreshing because, most of these athletes and even, captains of business now, they give you the old, I'm in the moment. Only worry about what you can control. It's so old. I doubt people even listen to it anymore. So it was refreshing to see a pro athlete come out and say something provocative. And he should brand this thing because it's a great quote. I love this.
Well,
quote.
I don't know if that was a Zig Ziglar. Was that a Zig Ziglar deal or something? But he's right. But that's something that never gets old. And it's really not you win or you learn, because I don't think you learn a lot from necessarily learn a lot from winning. Where the learning comes from is when you're losing.
Yeah.
You learn from your mistakes, not from your victories, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to put this question to you, Craig. You deal with a lot of obvious, very senior level executives in the aviation and the aerospace space. So what is winning and learning in the business world? What do you think?
Well, I think you're always, the one thing I don't think businesses do a great job of, and this is the one thing that, I think that learning is punitive in a lot of cases. And I think that's wrong. We didn't win the contract. Who's going to get fired? We didn't win we didn't do this. Who's responsible? And I think it's, whether you win it or you lose it, it comes when groups get together and have meetings and say, what did we do really well? We just won this big contract. What did we do really well? What did we not do really well? We won it, but,
Yeah. I go back to, can you win and learn? In other words, if you're a winner, can you still learn? And I think that's what you're getting at. And I look back to military special operations again. And you, as a Navy pilot, you probably remember the old AARs, right? So no matter how well you did on the battlefield, you always had to come back to the team room and do the after action review. And in aviation, particularly U.S. naval aviation, you win a hell of a lot more times than you ever lose,
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with SF. Most missions, I would say conservatively, 99% of the missions, you end up winning on the battlefield. And I think come back and do the AAR. And so it's like, even though we would win all the time, we're still learning because you do the AAR.
Well, that's the whole premise of Top Gun. I mean, if you go and everybody's, Top Gun now, everybody's, the whole premise of Top Gun is not, we want to be the best of the best. We are the best of the best.
Exactly.
That's complete happy horse shit. Exactly. Top Gun is about nothing more than teaching. It is teaching. It is put your ego in your pocket. You're here to learn. And, if you're strutting around like a chicken, like I can't be beat, you're the wrong person to be. You're the wrong person. You're just, that's not what it's all about. It's about teaching others to be better and learning.
Yeah.
And I think, this is where I start to think about, business. Business is about execution, right? And whether you execute or whether you don't execute, there's still something to be learned in the process. It's about continually understanding things where you did really well. And it's about putting your ego in your pocket though, and saying, hey, I'm open to constructive dialogue about my personal performance or my team's performance.
Yeah. So in career planning, taking this down to the ground level, the tactical level, for the individuals out there listening, the candidates, the people who are both happy in their jobs and looking for new jobs, how can they use this principle, if you don't win, you learn, to enhance their career?
Well, I think I look at it like this. 3 things I ask. I'm talking to people and go, when I'm starting to build a relationship with them, in your current position, are you happy as a pig in the mud? Are you ready to slit your throat? Or are you somewhere in between?
Yeah.
And most people really don't know. But I take a look at, I pick on a company that I don't want to say I pick on them. I just, read about them in the news, Gulfstream Aircraft. A couple of years ago, they took out 750 employees. They had a massive layoff. And the 750 employees were all between director, kind of manager, senior manager, and director.
Yeah. And
you could sort of see what was happening. And they all had 20 to 30 years with the company. Senior people, managers to directors. So you can kind of see what was happening is maybe those people all got stale. Or the CEO decided they were going to open up something for young people to come up in. They, whatever.
Yeah.
So the question became, what did you learn in that process?
Yeah.
And maybe what they should have learned was, no matter how comfortable I was, or how good a job I thought I was doing, or how much tenure I had, maybe I should have been thinking about plan B all along.
Yeah. And I take it back to the insurance world. What can people do to actually enhance their career by this winning and learning mode? And I go back to, I do coaching too. I tell these people, hey, your boss is down in the hallway. Go down and knock on his door, take him out to lunch, or maybe when you have your performance review, ask the question, how can I get better? What can I do? Teach me how I can be a better manager or a director. Do I have to get new certifications? Should I be more vocal in meetings? Should I take a class in project management? Should I, go to Toastmasters and learn how to publicly speak? What are some things that I can do to really get better? And not only ask your boss, but ask your colleagues. These are very tough conversations to have. They take a lot of courage. I can recall having conversations like this with peers of mine. And I remember I was in Abu Dhabi, and I asked a good friend of mine. I said, let me ask you something. This was over breakfast. I surprised the hell out of him. I said, how can I get better as a person? How can I get better as a businessman? And this is a very senior guy. He looked at me. He says, hey, Rob, are you sure you want to know the answer? I said, absolutely, man. Give it to me straight. And he spent about 15 minutes just, constructively criticizing how I conduct myself personally and professionally. And I was thinking to myself, it all makes sense. There's nothing that he said that I would argue with. And I still think about those 3 or 4 things that he told me that I needed to work on. And that was just asking questions and learning, Even though I was winning big, I was over there making a ton of money, but I wanted to make more and I wanted to get better. So these are some of the things that people can do is like have the courage to have courageous conversations with your boss and your colleagues. Figure out, how can I learn more about myself? How can I learn how to get better? Tough conversations.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm just a grumpy middle-aged dude. I don't give a shit anymore what people think about me. I don't have those conversations because one person's opinion of me, it means, look, you and I have been friends for a long time. Yeah, we've got it's how can I would love to know how I can do business better. But here's where I think that, it's the conversations. Here's where I think power comes in. Here's weakness. Let's talk about power, and then let's talk about weakness. Power is the ability to maneuver 100 different ways. So it's not being in debt. It's not waking up on Monday. It's Monday. I got to go to work. I got the kids. I got the other stuff. It's not being like living in a, it's not living the rat race. It's, it's understanding that there is a world outside of what you're doing, beyond your own personal network, beyond your friends. And I think where power comes from is opening up the horizon and saying, all right, I'm going to live a little under my means, so I'm not financially stressed. I don't know about you, but I wake up, maybe this is, wrong. I wake up scared every day. I'm not complacent.
Yeah.
I'm scared because I'm sitting there going, yikes, what do I got to prepare for? What happens if all this goes away? What do I do next? Right? What if AI takes my job? What am I doing next? So I think that's where power comes from, is the ability to go, okay, what is plan B? What am I moving towards? Or am I moving towards something, or am I just living in the moment? And I think people that live in the moment are the ones who aren't learning.
Yeah.
They're just living in the moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of power in the workplace, what do you think about the power of self-awareness and really opening up your mind to gain further input from other people and figuring out, where do I need to course correct here? Do I need to be more vocal, less vocal, more powerful, less powerful, more analytical, less analytical? Do you see any power in that too? Yeah,
no, I do. Look, I think it's, self-awareness is understanding that you don't know everything. But, this, great example. I went, back when I was early in my career, I just gotten out of the Navy, and I was, had gone into corporate America, and, this asshole vice president, I took something to him, and he wanted the contract structured in a way. And I was like, just curious, hey, Frank, why are you doing it that way? It was more like, just why? Yeah. And he gave me some grumpy answer, like, okay, I know never to ask you a question again. Yeah. All I was trying to do was learn, right? You understand, but that's the self-awareness is, hey, look, if somebody's asking you a question, they're not questioning you. It's not an objection. Every question is not an objection. It's a question. Tell me why, right? And that's what self-awareness is, understanding, hey, this is an objection. It's just a question. Yeah. I'm just trying to learn. Yeah. What's your thought process on this thing?
And then the final step, of course, is moving from self-awareness to self-actualization. So now that you're, aware of what you need to do or what you need to not do as much, it's putting it in action. Yeah. And that's where we talked about last time about attaching your actions to a goal and objective. If companies can learn to do that more, their employees would be a lot more effective, but the only way they can do that is learn from external sources, So a good friend of mine, this is a funny story. A good friend of mine is a professor, used to be a professor at Darden. He teaches part-time at Darden. And he wrote a case study about a business that he turned around, and it was taught at Darden. And a Fortune 100 company just found the case study, and they came and they asked him to speak and do a seminar. So he went up and he drove to Charlotte and did a 4-hour plus 2-hour lunch seminar. So he just spent basically a whole day helping them their quote unquote business transformation. Yeah. And now they're blowing up his phone. He's like, hey, the first one's free. I'll give you the first one free. Just because you asked and I'll help. But now they want to start going process. They want to start putting in more process. Yeah. And process works to a certain point, but then you got to execute. Yeah. Of
If you
course.
can't execute the process, you're worthless.
Yeah, exactly.
So, too many people are like, well, we need to put it in a process. No, you don't need to put it in a process. You need to execute on the stuff that's in front of you.
Yeah.
Winning or learning, execution,
And unless the people that work for you have not attached what that process and work is to a goal and objective, you go around in a circle. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, the process of the process on the bridge of a Navy ship, to make a course change or something that's, left 10 degrees rudder, new course, 090. And then the helmsman repeats that back, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the process, so that everybody understands what what the thing is. The process is, left 10 degrees rudder, report back to me. But then somebody's actually got to turn the ship, right?
Yeah.
So it's execution. So I think that's winning and learning. Learning comes from winning, and learning comes from execution.
Yeah, when I first started my recruiting business back 20 years ago, this week actually, big 20-year anniversary here, that I was winning some deals, but it was just basically, I think because I'm just, a good salesman. I've been around the block a few times, started several companies, but I remember I had several wins, starting to build my business, and I went after one of the big fish to try and get them as a client.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was going to win this thing, and I didn't win. Somebody else got the client.
Mm-hmm.
It was between me and a few other firms or something. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't believe I didn't win that. And not knowing any of this thing about Jalen Hurts, I went back to my office and I started thinking about it. And I actually called the VP of operations of the company that chose somebody else over me. And I asked the guy, I said, I'm just curious, why didn't I win this? I thought for sure you guys were going to hire me. Had a lot of good discussions up front, a lot of informal discussions for free, And the guy says, if I could give you a recommendation, if you really want to win big clients like me, he says, you got to do three things. You got to be a specialist. Number one, you got to be a subject matter expert in the field of insurance. Number two, our operations are only Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Virginia. It'd be nice if you could specialize geographically. And he says, the only thing I look for are sales producers and account managers. I'm not looking for operations guys. I'm not looking for CEOs. I'm not looking for temporary staff. A lot of people are doing temporary work now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking for account managers, producers, Washington, D.C. area, and specializing in insurance brokerage. And I thought to myself, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So I learned from that. And then I became a specialist. And then, to be honest with you, I can't remember the last time I lost a client. I win every single time.
But all right, so a couple of things. What was the one thing you did? What was the one thing you did that gave you the epiphany?
It was I came back to my office and I'm thinking to myself, I hate to lose, man. I want to win.
All right. So what's the second thing you did? The second thing you did was you asked the client.
Yeah.
Most
I
times
just called them up and asked them.
Yeah. Hey, look, no harm, no foul. You got to do what you got to do. What could I have done better? What have I learned? And it's a learning in process. Email sucks. Don't put it in writing. Pick up the phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just probably lost a client because they sent me a note. It was dumb. It was really stupid on my part. And I'll admit it. They asked me, would you look at this thing? I said, no. I mean, I just wrote them back a note. I just looked at it for 10 seconds. I said, no, I don't want to do that. And then they came, because I didn't think it was a big enough role. And then they came back and they said, well, somebody else in the company came back and they said, well, we want to put some color on this. I'm like, oh, well, okay. they're like, would you look at it? And now, it's kind of gone dead. I just turned down some business that I probably should have didn't need to turn down. But what did I learn? Email, don't email. If I can't help them, give them some references to people who can, right? Build a relationship.
It's funny you said that, because one of the things I've learned over the past 20 years is the turn down business.
Mm-hmm.
I used to take business that I didn't want, and I really didn't give those clients justice, because I really wasn't 100% into it. Either the position was too low level, or maybe instead of Virginia, it was North Carolina. And I take these clients on because I was a nice guy, or I didn't have the humility to admit to myself, Rob, you probably can't do that.
Yeah.
So now what I learned is, I turned down a lot of stuff. I think I told you, I've culled my herd of 18 clients down to 7 clients now.
Okay. So you're going to give 7 clients really good business.
And what I learned is I'm going to throw everything I got at 7 clients. And man, these people love me now. It's the best thing I ever did. But, a lot of these decisions I make, I'm not as smart as you, is I get from other people. I just ask questions all the time. I play the stupid guy. Hey, what am I doing wrong? How can I get better? How can I do this a better way? And then people start to volunteer information, and then I'll just suck their brain up. And that's kind of how I learn, is just asking a lot of open-ended questions and just putting my pride away in my top desk drawer in the morning and just asking, continually asking my clients, how can we have done that better? How can I get better? And then, if I screw it up, it's my fault. I'm going to own it. But then I'll ask questions in sort of my own personal AAR. How can I get better? And people, what's surprising about people is, as uncomfortable as it is to tell somebody what they did wrong, and nobody likes to do that, if you ask the question enough times, they'll eventually tell you.
Yep. Well, look, winning and learning. Like I said, with the former owner of the Philadelphia 76ers. I watched him. He was a physical therapist. You remember, and he had an interesting thing. He says, I don't take no. I take no means not right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's about building relationships.
Yeah.
So if he's not winning, he's learning, and he's building a relationship for the time that no means not right now means yes. Yeah. Second thing, if you shut the conversation down with a yes or a no, the conversation is shut down. I just did that last week. I'm embarrassed by it. I should know better. I don't know what I was thinking, but I did it. I learned. I learned what I already knew. It was what I already knew was reinforced. Don't be stupid. The third thing is look, angry emails, angry texts. This is why I hate Twitter. It's vitriol. What does it get you? Nothing. Yeah. What is that angry text? That angry, or I tell the college kids, posting that drinking photo on Instagram, what does that get you? Nothing.
Yeah.
Think about, you're winning or you're learning, and learning comes from, hey, thinking about, what am I doing right here, right now?
Yeah. Yeah. Jalen Hurts, man, that took a lot of courage for that guy to get up there and say that,
It did.
I've never liked the Eagles, but I love Jalen Hurts now. It seems counterintuitive, but man, that's the guy you want to root for,
I root for them. I'll tell you who I root for is the athletes who are high EQ. I think about Mahomes, high EQ, Dak Prescott, high EQ, Tom Brady, high EQ, Jalen Hurts, high EQ, Brock Purdy, kind of an underdog. But they say he's a complete gentleman in the locker room. I like that. That's the people I root for. I don't root for Aaron Rodgers. I think he's a crybaby.
He went to a dark place for 4 days or something. And then, did you hear about this?
Yeah, I did.
And then the 4 days ended and he was so disoriented, he couldn't find himself back to light.
He's all about me. It's all about Aaron.
Yeah.
The only thing that matters to Aaron is Aaron.
He's a stoic man. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. And, you know, it shows up. His teammates don't care about him either.
Yeah.
And
that guy
that's,
could throw the ball, though, man.
Yeah.
Did you see that one pass he had? I think it was the last game. He dropped it right in the bucket on the 5-yard line with that guy.
he's a great athlete.
Just crazy.
He's a great athlete, but he's a horrible person.
Yeah, he's a piece of work, man.
You know, and that's what Aaron needs to learn is Aaron, share the wealth. Quit being a crybaby.
Yeah. You know, it always amazes me how, you know, like in this woke world that we live now, this world of constant political correctness, of leveling the playing field, it's amazing how professional sports, particularly the NFL, in military special operations, in aviation, how they are one of the last vestiges of a true meritocracy. If you look at how they coach, how they train, and how if they don't win, they learn. But even when they win, they learn, because in the NFL on Tuesdays is game tape day.
Yep.
And that's when they go through the game tape.
Right.
And, you know, I've never been in the NFL, but I know one person who was my college roommate, actually, Bob Wasowski, who actually was in the NFL for a couple of years. And he used to tell me, he says, you know, Tuesday morning, man, even if you win 44-0, you're in the film room and the whole team, or at least the position group, is in there watching the tape.
Mm-hmm.
And there is nowhere to hide.
Nope.
So nowhere to hide, man. He says, and the last thing you want to do is disappoint your teammates. And that is a true testament of how to win and learn, because even when you're winning, you're still learning.
Yep.
So in that regard, I would differ a little bit with Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts said, I think his direct quote was, either you win or you learn. I differ in that quote in that you can win and learn at the same time.
And the people that build $1 million careers are always learning.
Exactly. Right.
Every minute of every day, they're learning. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well said. Well said, Mr. Picken. That's why you're the leading recruiter in aviation and aerospace in the United States of America.
No, I just do. Look, I just get my little pice of the pie.
I know you're just a simple man from Wilmington, North Carolina. I just get my little piece of the pie. So it's all good. Well, good. Because Craig, how do people get a hold of you anyway?
It's Craig at NorthstarESG.com. Just email me or give me a call, 910-231-4037.
Man, you're all over the internet, man. Your LinkedIn posts are really, really good. I read them all the time. You got some great podcasts, websites, awesome. And yeah, I definitely recommend you to anybody out there, and have a great week, man.
You do the same.
All right, Craig. Talk to you next week.
See you, Rob.
Peace, brother.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed the latest edition of the Aerospace Executive Podcast. You can reach out to me directly, Craig at NorthstarESG.com, or check us out at www.northstaresg.com. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, or on YouTube. Just do a search for Aerospace Executive Podcast. Thanks again. I'm Craig Picken.